I've lived this example of ADHD in my family. I have 5 kids. One of the kids was diagnosed with it. And unfortunately, what happens is the system a little bit closes in on you. So on the one side, they give you a lot of benefits, I guess. I put it in quotes because you get these emails that say, if they want extra time, if they want this, if they want, they'll give you a computer, for example, to take notes so that you don't handwrite. So those feel like aids to help you, right? But then on the other side, one person was very adamant, like, hey, you want to medicate? And my ex-wife and I were just like, under no circumstances are we medicating our child. That was a personal decision that we made with the information that we had, knowing that specific kid. And all kids are different, so I don't want to generalize. And then the crazy thing, Joe, what we did was we took the iPad out of the kid's hand. And we said, we had these very strict device rules. And then COVID turned everything upside down. And you're just surviving. You're sheltering in place. You got five kids running around. They're not really being, taught by the schools. The schools won't convene the kids. And so what do? You just hand them the device. Everything was through the device. The little class they got, through the device. The way that they would talk to their friends, through the device. So it reintroduced itself in a way that we couldn't control. And then we saw this slippage. And then what we did was we just drew a bright red line and we said, we're taking it out of your hands. No more video games. No more iPad. We're going to dose it in very small doses. And he had an entire turnaround. But then here's what happened. I took my eye off the ball a little bit this summer because it was like he had a great year. He reset. His self-confidence was coming back. I was like, man, this is amazing. And then I do the thing that, a lot of people would do. Here, you can have an hour. Yeah, it's fine. Talk to your friends, And then it started again. And then again, now we just had to reset. So at least in our example, what we have found, and it may not apply to everybody, but for us, him not being bathed in this thing had a huge effect. Playing basketball outside, roughhousing with his brothers, having to talk to his friends, having to talk to us, watching movies, or we would just sit around. Because, by the way, what I noticed was like my kids had a hard time watching movies or listening to songs on Spotify for the full duration. They'd get to the hook and they'd be like, forward.
Next.
And they'd be like, they'd watch like 8 minutes next. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is like, enjoy the fullness. They couldn't even sit there for 3.5 minutes. So what at least, my son was learning was, to just chill a little bit. Be there, be able to watch the show. And these shows move at a glacial pace relative to what they're used to if they're playing a video game.
Or TikTok.
Yeah. Because TikTok, they're like this. Boom, 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 boom. And it's helped. It's not a cure. But it just goes back to what you're saying, which is like, if you give parents options, and I heard this crazy stat, I don't know if this is true. If you take your devices away from a kid, the kid will feel isolated from their other students. The critical mass, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's what I was told, so I'll go with it, was that if you get 1/3 of the parents, so like in a class of 20, if you get 1/3 of the parents to agree as well, no devices, the kid feels zero social isolation because it becomes normative. It's like, it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got a flip phone.
Yeah.
And you're texting like this to your parents or you're calling, And I don't know, it may be worth trying. There was a crazy thing, I don't know, Jimmy, if you can find this, but there was a crazy thing, Eton College, which is like the most elite, if you will, private school in the UK. It's kind of where like all the prime ministers of the United Kingdom have matriculated through Eton College. It's like high school, fancy high school. They sent a memo to the parents for the incoming class. And the headmaster said, when you get on campus with your child, we're going to give you like what is basically a Nokia flip phone. You are going to take the SIM card out of this kid's iPhone or Android. You're going to stick it in this thing. And this is how they're going to communicate with you and communicate amongst each other while they're on campus at Eton.
Wow. Mandatory.
Mandatory. I thought this was incredible. I don't know what the impact is, but that takes a lot of courage, and I thought that's amazing.
Well, it's great because then if they're communicating, they're only communicating. They're not sharing things or Snapchatting each other back and forth, and the addictive qualities of these phones, which is, if you think about the course of human evolution, and you think of how we adapted to agriculture and civilization, and we essentially became softer and less muscular and less aggressive, like, that took a long time.
A long time.
That was a long time. This thing is hitting us so quickly. And one of the bizarre things is it creates a disconnection, even though you're being connected to people consistently and constantly through social media. There's a disconnection between human beings and normal behavior and learning through interaction with each other, social cues, all the different things that we rely on to learn how to be a friend and to learn how to be better at talking to each other.
I have a rule with my oldest, who's 15. He'll call me. Or even when I call him. It's like this, it's like a grunt greeting.
Right. They don't know how to talk anymore.
And I'm like, hello? And so I went through this thing where, like, I would just hang up. And I'm like, beep, hang up. And then he would call me back. Huh? and then finally I said, I just want you to have these building blocks. They may sound really stupid to you right now, but looking people in the eye, being able to have a normal conversation and be patient in that conversation is going to be really valuable for you. People will really be connected to you. You may not feel that, and you may think this is like lame and stupid what I'm telling you, but I was like, just try to do it.